Coffee lovers, I'm about to challenge everything you think you know about your favorite drink. For the next 60 seconds, I want you to put down that cup and open your mind to a possibility that might seem outrageous at first. What if I told you that your coffee habit could be the key to unlocking better heart health? Or that it could be slowly undermining your cardiovascular system? The truth, as we're about to discover, is far more complex and far more fascinating than you might imagine. Meet Dr. Samantha Chen, a renowned cardiologist turned health detective. Her latest case, the puzzling tale of identical twins, Mark and John, whose heart health had taken drastically different paths despite their seemingly identical lifestyles. At 45, both brothers maintained similar diets, exercise routines, and stress levels. They even lived in the same neighborhood. Yet, Mark's recent checkup revealed a clean bill of cardiovascular health, while John was grappling with high blood pressure and early signs of heart disease. Dr. Chen's keen eye spotted the sole significant difference between the twins, their coffee consumption habits. Mark, it turned out, was a moderate coffee drinker, enjoying 2 to 3 cups daily. John, on the other hand, barely touched the stuff, citing a personal dislike for its taste. This discovery led Dr. Chen to question the prevailing assumptions about coffee's impact on heart health. Initial theories often paint coffee as a potential cardiovascular villain due to its caffeine content. Caffeine, after all, is known to affect blood pressure and vascular function. But Dr. Chen suspected there was more to the story. The complexity of coffee's composition, with its myriad of bioactive compounds, suggested that its effects on heart health might be far more nuanced than previously thought. As she dug deeper, Dr. Chen uncovered fascinating research on genetic factors in coffee metabolism. It turned out that variations in genes related to caffeine processing could lead to markedly different responses to coffee consumption. This genetic component potentially explained how 2 genetically identical individuals like Mark and John could experience such divergent health outcomes based on their coffee habits. The plot thickened as Dr. Chen's investigation led her to a recent study published in Rheumatology. The research suggested that increased caffeine consumption, including from coffee, might actually improve blood vessel health. This was particularly notable in patients with lupus, who typically face higher risks of cardiovascular diseases. This finding was Dr. Chen's first major clue, linking coffee consumption directly to vascular health. It challenged the notion that coffee was universally harmful to the heart and opened up new avenues of inquiry. Could Mark's moderate coffee consumption be contributing to his superior cardiovascular health? And if so, how exactly was coffee affecting the blood vessels? As Dr. Chen prepared to delve into the specifics of coffee's effects on blood vessels, she couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. The case of the twins had already revealed that the relationship between coffee and heart health was far more complex than anyone had imagined. Each new piece of evidence was not just solving a medical mystery, but potentially reshaping our understanding of a beverage consumed by millions every day. With her first significant clue in hand, Dr. Chen turned her attention to the intricate workings of the vascular system. She knew that understanding coffee's specific effects on blood vessels would be crucial in unraveling the full impact of this popular beverage on overall heart health. Imagine a world where your coffee mug could double as a heart health monitor. While we're not quite there yet, recent research suggests your daily brew might be providing more insight into your cardiovascular well-being than any smartwatch. But here's the twist. The effects aren't the same for everyone. The vascular system, a complex network of blood vessels, plays a crucial role in overall heart health. These vessels act as highways for blood flow, delivering oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. Their condition can significantly impact heart function, making vascular health a key indicator of cardiovascular well-being. Dr. Chen's investigation into coffee's effects on blood vessels revealed a fascinating paradox. Some studies suggested that caffeine could cause short-term increases in blood pressure, potentially straining the heart. However, other research indicated that regular coffee consumption might actually lower blood pressure over time. This conflicting evidence highlighted the complexity of coffee's interaction with our cardiovascular system. As Dr. Chen dug deeper, she uncovered the intricate ways caffeine influences blood flow and vessel dilation. Caffeine, the primary active compound in coffee, has been shown to alter blood flow patterns almost immediately after consumption. It promotes vessel dilation, a process where blood vessels expand, potentially improving circulation. This effect could explain why some people experience a temporary boost in alertness and energy after their morning cup. The cardiologist was particularly intrigued by a recent study focusing on lupus patients. These individuals typically face higher risks of cardiovascular diseases, making them an ideal group for observing coffee's potential protective effects. The research suggested that increased caffeine consumption, including from coffee, might improve blood vessel health in these patients. This finding opened up new possibilities for understanding coffee's role in cardiovascular health, even for those with pre-existing conditions. As Dr. Chen pieced together the evidence, she began to see a clearer picture of coffee's long-term vascular impacts. While the immediate effects of caffeine on blood vessels were becoming more apparent, the long-term consequences remained an area of ongoing research. The potential for coffee to influence vascular health over years or decades of consumption presented both exciting possibilities and challenging questions. The resolution of Dr. Chen's investigation brought a key finding to light. Moderate coffee consumption appeared to have a net positive effect on vascular health for many people. The bioactive compounds in coffee, beyond just caffeine, seemed to work together to support blood vessel function and potentially reduce the risk of cardiovascular diseases. However, Dr. Chen was quick to note that these benefits weren't universal. Factors like genetics, pre-existing health conditions, and individual caffeine sensitivity all played roles in determining how coffee affected a person's vascular system. This realization brought her back to the case of the twins, Mark and John, whose different coffee habits had led to such divergent health outcomes. As Dr. Chen prepared to delve into the next phase of her investigation, she couldn't help but wonder about the broader implications of her findings. If coffee could have such significant effects on vascular health, how might it influence other aspects of cardiovascular well-being? Her thoughts turned to another critical factor in heart health: diabetes risk. The connection between coffee consumption and diabetes was about to add another layer of complexity to this already intriguing case. Just when Dr. Chen thought she had unraveled coffee's cardiovascular mysteries, a new question emerged. Could your daily cup of joe be a secret weapon against diabetes? The answer would challenge everything we thought we knew about this beloved beverage. As Dr. Chen delved deeper into her investigation, she uncovered a critical connection between diabetes and heart health. Diabetes, it turns out, is a major risk factor for cardiovascular diseases. This revelation made understanding coffee's role in diabetes prevention crucial to solving the puzzle of the twins' divergent health outcomes. The relationship between coffee and diabetes risk, however, proved to be anything but straightforward. Dr. Chen found herself faced with a paradox. Coffee seemed to have the potential to both help and harm when it came to diabetes risk. This complexity mirrored the conflicting findings she had encountered earlier regarding coffee's effects on vascular health. Examining the scientific literature, Dr. Chen discovered that coffee's impact on insulin sensitivity and glucose metabolism was a subject of ongoing debate. Some studies suggested that regular coffee consumption could improve insulin sensitivity, potentially lowering the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Other research, however, indicated that excessive coffee intake might have the opposite effect, potentially increasing diabetes risk. Dr. Chen was particularly intrigued by long-term studies on coffee drinkers and diabetes incidence. These studies provided valuable insights into the effects of habitual coffee consumption over many years. The data suggested that moderate coffee drinkers often had a lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to non-drinkers. However, the benefits appeared to diminish or even reverse with very high levels of consumption. As she pieced together the evidence, Dr. Chen began to see a pattern emerging. The relationship between coffee intake and diabetes risk wasn't linear, but rather followed a complex curve. This realization built anticipation towards understanding the optimal coffee intake for diabetes prevention and, by extension, heart health. The resolution of this part of Dr. Chen's investigation brought a key finding to light. Moderate coffee consumption appeared to have a protective effect against type 2 diabetes for many people. This effect was likely due to the various bioactive compounds in coffee, including antioxidants and other beneficial substances, which could influence glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity. However, Dr. Chen was careful to note that these benefits weren't universal. Individual factors such as genetics, overall diet, and lifestyle played significant roles in determining how coffee affected a person's diabetes risk. This insight brought her back to the case of Mark and John, the twins with dramatically different coffee habits and health outcomes. As Dr. Chen reflected on her findings, she couldn't help but wonder about the broader implications. If coffee could influence both vascular health and diabetes risk, what was the optimal way to consume it for maximum benefit and minimum risk? This question led her to the next phase of her investigation, exploring the concept of moderation in coffee consumption. The connection between coffee, diabetes, and heart health was proving to be far more nuanced than anyone had initially thought. As Dr. Chen prepared to delve into the final piece of the puzzle, she knew that understanding the role of moderation would be crucial in unraveling the full story of coffee's impact on our well-being. Imagine a world where your morning cup of coffee could be the difference between life and death. As Dr. Chen delved deeper into her research, she uncovered a surprising J-shaped curve that would challenge everything we thought we knew about coffee and heart health. What lies at the peak of this curve, and how could it explain the stark difference between Mark and John's health outcomes? Dr. Chen's investigation took a startling turn when she discovered that excessive coffee drinkers were 22% more likely to experience a stroke. This sobering statistic highlighted the critical importance of finding the right balance in coffee consumption. It became clear that there might be a sweet spot for coffee intake when it comes to heart health, a level of consumption that maximizes benefits while minimizing risks. As she dug deeper, Dr. Chen uncovered evidence suggesting that both underconsumption and overconsumption of coffee could pose risks to cardiovascular health. Those who abstained from coffee entirely, like John, might be missing out on potential protective effects. On the other hand, excessive drinkers faced increased risks of negative outcomes. This revelation painted a complex picture of coffee's impact on the heart. The J-shaped curve of coffee's health benefits emerged as a key concept in Dr. Chen's research. This curve illustrated that moderate coffee consumption appeared to offer the greatest protective effects against cardiovascular disease. As intake increased beyond this optimal point, the benefits began to diminish and eventually reversed, leading to potential harm. Dr. Chen's findings aligned with a comprehensive study from the UK Biobank, which shed light on the optimal caffeine intake for heart health. The study suggested that consuming between 2 to 3 cups of coffee per day was associated with the lowest risk of cardiovascular disease and death from any cause. This range of consumption seemed to hit the sweet spot on the J-shaped curve. As Dr. Chen approached the final piece of the twins' puzzle, she realized that moderation was the critical factor explaining their divergent health outcomes. Mark's habit of enjoying 2 to 3 cups of coffee daily had unknowingly placed him in the optimal range for heart health benefits. John, by avoiding coffee entirely, had missed out on these potential protective effects. The revelation about moderation transformed Dr. Chen's understanding of coffee's role in heart health. It wasn't simply a matter of coffee being good or bad for the heart, but rather finding the right balance for each individual. This nuanced approach to coffee consumption opened up new possibilities for personalized health recommendations. As Dr. Chen prepared to conclude her investigation, she couldn't help but reflect on the broader implications of her findings. How could this knowledge about coffee and moderation be applied to other aspects of diet and lifestyle? And what practical guidelines could be developed to help people make informed decisions about their coffee consumption? With these questions in mind, Dr. Chen turned her attention to translating her discoveries into actionable advice for coffee lovers everywhere. As Dr. Chen concluded her investigation, the twin paradox finally unraveled. Mark's moderate coffee habit had unknowingly placed him in the sweet spot for heart health, while John's abstinence deprived him of potential benefits. The evidence painted a nuanced picture. Coffee, in moderation, could support vascular health and potentially lower diabetes risk. For those seeking to optimize their coffee consumption, Dr. Chen's findings suggest aiming for 2 to 3 cups daily. However, individual factors like genetics and pre-existing conditions play crucial roles, making personalized advice valuable. It's also worth noting that preparation methods and additives can influence coffee's health impact. Ultimately, this case highlighted how seemingly small daily choices can profoundly affect our long-term health. As we pour our next cup, we might consider that we're not just satisfying a craving, but potentially shaping our cardiovascular future. The power to influence our health lies in our hands, or perhaps in our coffee mugs. Thank you for watching. If you found this information helpful, share it with others so we can continue to build a well-informed community. Stay informed, stay empowered.